It's getting to be a,
Yeah.
you know, it's interesting that it be like that. We in there.
Yeah.
We be talking the stuff we be talking about. The zombies, you getting
I
real
know.
funny every time. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence.
That's the enemy?
I don't know what it is.
Oh.
Technology.
Who is the enemy?
Technology.
You want names? Because I went to this guy.
Name names.
I went to school there.
Absolutely. You'll remember that.
We're trying to set this up and chat on already.
Go up to your house
The bullies, you know what I'm saying?
all day. It's different now.
Stay here, brother. You ever been bullied, brother?
It has occurred.
It has occurred.
Yeah, absolutely.
You been bullied before, Joe?
I think somebody tried it a couple times. I don't know if it worked. Yeah, man, everybody's been bullied, I guess. But you know.
Oh yeah, they can hear you
Can
now.
you hear us now?
That's better. All right.
I'm a big fan of bullying.
All right. We're trying to work it out.
But this is,
You're a fan of what?
I think bullying is necessary.
Yeah, so you can learn how to deal with some issues.
If bullying, this is not the topic for tonight. But the reason why,
There's a degree of bullying in the abortion conversation
and a lot of stuff,
and trans conversation, the alphabet crew gang conversation. Bullying exists.
it exists.
Culture is a bully.
Religion,
Socialization is
It's
a
a
bully.
bully.
Your parents are bullies.
capitalism.
And if you don't know how to deal with the bully,
Yeah.
we're not going to ever legislate bullying out of the consciousness of America.
Wait a minute. You said legislate. William Murphy said
Oh,
that. William Murphy said, we saying names.
go ahead, bro.
William Murphy
He
said,
speak for himself, right? But
what did he say on the video? He said that the church,
does not legislate morality.
that's what he specifically said,
Mhm.
and that the government,
Legislates the law of God. Ding, ding.
That's Paul, though. Y'all mad with him for quoting Paul? That's Romans.
listen to how he put
Yeah,
it
you know what book I'm in?
in his presenting his junk.
Was it Romans 13?
So in 12 or 13 up in there.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Get on the thing.
Yeah,
Can y'all hear us? Because this is going to be
They can,
really good.
well, they can definitely hear us on Facebook because we already got comments.
But okay, we're trying to look at all the things together.
Yeah, and we were just kind of setting it up.
Meal better, perfect, much better.
All right, cool, boomers. Thank y'all.
Yes. Keep
All right.
talking, Joe. That helped. Okay.
All right, cool, good.
That's Tasha. Okay.
So what was that? So
We're trying to just talk to build.
to bring it back. And so we were challenged. We were
Then we
challenged
got
by
the conversation.
the message that we saw, which again, this is pre the overturn of Roe v. Wade. And I was particularly challenged, sharing with Michael and kind of in the backroom banter. I was very surprised by a number, particularly of African American preachers who were essentially kind of taking, I would say, a stance that seemed to communicate that they support Roe v. Wade. And so we talked about abortion last week, and I'm so glad that you're here because you were bringing up all type of stuff. You and my brother that we didn't really get a chance to get to, but we wanted to kind of continue the discussion by allowing people to kind of speak for themselves and then get certain reactions to it.
We started with John Jenkins.
Yep.
Who did a wonderful sermon, hot button, but a wonderful sermon presenting biblical elements of why abortion shouldn't be, or we shouldn't approach it how the culture is doing it right now. But the conversation was on fire in the chat rooms.
Yeah.
And so by having a certain orchestrated amount of time, all the things. So we said, okay, we're gonna have a conversation. So this week we planned to specifically address presenting the argument, presenting the sides, but people were immediately taking it and bannering up.
It's gonna go back forum and just kind of.
I was trying
but
to.
people already are
live right now.
Right, but you're here, so you can say.
So pull it last week.
Yeah, you can pull it up.
Yeah. And directly address.
Brother, he was saying things about the fact that we have that even all of the to the idea of a woman having a choice. And so there's kind of that we didn't really get a chance to deal with. But I think that we should probably, can we hear and see? We should probably hear and see what we're last week, and then kind of get into it.
All right. Here we some of that. I'm not sure why our video is going in and out.
Technology is the enemy,
brother. All right, we're gonna see if we can play the video. All right, and then use that and play it. I think I'm doing it right. Here.
Here's what it says. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I'm sorry, I skipped down. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. There's so much right there in that verse. Before I formed you.
It's playing.
Who did the forming? God did the forming. Before I formed you, God said, I already knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I set you apart. I ordained you, he's talking to Jeremiah. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. Before you got formed, God already knew about you. This is where this is what we celebrate, that God knew all about us.
Yes.
Before the foundations of the world. Before the world was even made, God already knew your name. Hallelujah. And if God did that for Jeremiah, he'd do the same thing for you.
He
can do it. And look at our video going in and out.
Galatians 1:15.
That's what you did, bro.
But when it pleased God, this is Paul talking. But when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me through his grace. God brought him out of his mother's womb.
That brand of humor.
No, I can't.
Or that.
Here's the thing I'm trying to get you to see.
It is 30-day consecration.
Oh man.
That young man on.
God is the one who makes it happen.
Doc.
Again, I want you to distinguish between the
So I don't know if they can hear this.
The events surrounding the conception, and recognize that for the conception to happen, God had to make it happen.
Let's stop it. Let's cut back. Nothing is hitting anything.
All right, it's back. Must be the cord.
And now not.
The cord is utilizing choice to abort our program.
Oops.
It's intelligent like gravity.
Yep.
My mind.
Yep, it's very smart.
All right. Looks like we back.
All right. Well, I mean, if we don't have the
video, yeah.
we know how to do it.
Yeah,
because
we do.
can kind of summarize.
We can talk about what he said.
Yeah. Jenkins was pointing to the fact that biblically life is in the blood. He brought up a few scriptures talking about life being in the blood. And he was making about 4 different points. And one of them was that our creator, God, knew us even before we came into the womb. Reference scriptures such as the one from Jeremiah, where God is specifically speaking to Jeremiah saying, I knew you before you were in the womb. I believe he talked about the Psalm 139 passage, fearfully and wonderfully made, and you were in the inner parts, so forth and so on. The gist of that second point of his argument was not only was life in the blood, but that we have a creator that knew exactly who we were and kind of placed us where we are. And that did lead to some of the discussion about choice, predestination. If God knows us, if our days are numbered, then do we have choices about what we do? You brought up Judas being the son of perdition, and so on. So, if you want to elaborate, go right ahead.
I just would say this to start. There's a conflict with something called just biblical inferential interpretation, right?
Mhm.
In that it's ambiguous. Like I wish God was the kind of God who could simplify what a sin is and what isn't a sin. We wouldn't even have a debate if it was written, and I know He's got the insight to do it because He's God, He's omniscient.
Right.
Thou shalt not abort your baby, and this is what it means to abort your baby.
Mhm.
If you're outside of the paradigm or the confines of what I just defined as what abortion is, that's sin. You can stop that. He can stop all debates, but it's not like that. It's like it's written like a legal document where it's so ambiguous you can infer based upon your argumentation. You know what I mean? And so
Thou shalt not kill.
You know,
Seems to be basic enough. What do you think? Is thou shalt not kill basic enough?
well, no, especially when God is telling you to do the killing.
For if He's the one that gave the instruction and created life, because that's what it boils down to for abortion. So if you didn't create it, you shouldn't be able to take it away.
Well, my thing is, if something is moral and appropriate, then God shouldn't be instructing people to do something that's immoral and inappropriate.
If He's the creator of the life and deems it against the righteousness that He created as well, the truth that is Him, then He can say, erase this.
So,
if you come against that, and we're talking about abortion,
right?
So it becomes and we definitely not you and I, but people get into an area right where it starts to get in feelings and they get into semantics. I know we won't do that, but
I ain't for nothing.
you know what I'm saying? But this is the things that we've been hearing. I'm trying to bring you up to speed on that. So the people are saying the argument becomes, or the communication becomes, when is life? When is it murder? When is it taking a life?
Right.
When is it actually killing?
And I'm saying as a pushback, I'd like for the God of the Bible to be more direct and clarify. Because if you have omniscience, then you would know down the pipe that we would have developed the technology to abort babies the way that we do. And you would have saw that down the annals of time. You'd be like, one day you guys are going to be able to do this medical procedure. Don't do it. and we wouldn't even be sitting here. But because I don't know if it's God's testing man, because you have that kind of anthropomorphic presentation in the Bible where He tests the hearts of men and etc. But it's just like a lot of the ambiguity and argumentation could have been settled when you're dealing with an omniscient, omnipotent, and very capable God who we presume knows what He wants.
Yeah, and I think that was part of what my brother Austin was saying, is that the arguments make sense, but it doesn't necessarily, none of the arguments stack up to say you can't choose, right? That if you choose this particular thing, that you are essentially walking against the plan of God. I think Jenkins would say it's very clear that God is very clear. I hate 7 sins. One of those sins are hands that shed innocent blood, right? And so not even, hands that just shed blood, right? But very clear, if someone is innocent, right, and you kill that person, God don't like you. That's one of the top 7 of the top. I mean, even top 10, right? And you have all of this. I think again, I'm with you, and I understand kind of being, seminary trained,
right?
That when we look at the 10 Commandments, what we see is laws that were prescribed for Israel to become a nation. There wasn't a separation between religious law and like a civil law. It was one and the same, because essentially God was their king. God was their God. It was a theocracy, right? And so what Moses is doing is he's bringing them laws as to how we're going to live in right relationship with God and community.
Right.
So you can't go around killing people
It's juridical.
because it destroys communities.
I got it.
You can't go around here scheming to take your man's wife because
Right.
it messes up community, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's given as the law of God, right? Right? And that we can have amendments to it because it's given as the law of God. It's not the Constitution. It's like this is absolute truth.
Right.
Boom, 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 boom. So I think that the argument from, say, Jenkins and others who are pro-life is that life begins at conception, because you can't tell me that it doesn't. And if it does, then if you decide to end that life, then you have committed murder.
I need you to give me book, chapter, and verse where the Lord is saying life begins at conception. That's what I need to see. I need to see something as direct as that, because if I don't, all we're dealing with again is inference, and your inferences are informed by your biases.
Right. But the problem, the challenge is, there isn't book, chapter, and verse that says life begins at conception, right?
Why?
There are book, chapter, and verses that say life begins before conception. If God is saying, I knew you before you entered into your mother's womb, then that suggests to us that that life began before that.
Okay, so time out. Y'all believe in what is that? Reincarnation and having a life before the life that we are now currently instantiated in, because that is what is implied by that verse. Like, yo, you existed somewhere before you even took on a body. Is that what we're saying in Christianity? Because I know a lot of Eastern religions say that, like Buddhism.
I don't believe in reincarnation, but and I'll tell you, I believe that all human lives were spoken into existence on day 6.
Oh, how'd you come up with that?
Because God said.
Let there be.
I think to go back to a point you made, even about the scriptures being direct, or God being direct about what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. You said hands that shed innocent blood as, kind of the qualifier. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, in the 7.
Well, yeah,
Right.
within the 7.
Right.
But even that, innocent, what is that? How do we define that? That's another philosophical, kind of journey we have to take. And then you have to contextualize that, well, in the day that they say this was written, what was innocence in that time, in that space? You know what I mean?
But wouldn't that have to, if there is anything in life that is innocent, right? Wouldn't that have to be a baby or an unborn child? Because the baby has to be innocent of anything, because it couldn't have done anything wrong.
Well, I would have said that for the babies in Egypt, the firstborn children who were killed, but God said otherwise. And I'm like, well, why? Them babies they weren't holding the children of Israel captive. Not the firstborn. They was innocent, God, so it's good.
What do you mean? But what do you mean by God said that's good?
Well,
You mean he didn't stop it?
meaning that he allowed the firstborn children of in Egypt to be killed by the death angel. When I see the blood, I'll pass over.
Oh,
But
okay.
You babies, because we're talking about innocence, just conceptually. So I'm like, okay, if you want to say babies are innocent across the board, Lord, what's up with these babies in Egypt who did not hold a whip and brutalize your people? You know what I'm saying? Who did not invoke an impositional power? They can't. They depend on their parents. They got to die though? That doesn't seem just to me. And it almost sounded like justice is whatever God says it is. So then I'm like, well, what if God says, hey, go kill them people? That's justice?
It is if he says it, and you saying it seems like that is not justice, but we have this saying, we as in culturally, we've been talking about the division in culture and weaponizing cultural things. But I think it's so not the truth, where we say that about favor ain't fair, right? And I've always been challenged with that. Because if God is a fair and just God, like what you're saying, we're questioning or addressing, then favor is fair from the God who is fair and just dispensing it. So it is fair, even particularly if it's outside of our understanding, which allows him to be God and not us.
But if it's fair, then it ain't favor. Favor suggests there's some kind of special in treatment. That's what favor is.
Absolutely.
Right, by definition.
And fairness is confined to the parameters of our finitude. Fair, right here. God exists outside of that, which makes him God. It's the exceeding abundantly part. So if that is true, that makes him God. If not, then we can pocket him and go walk down the street.
I mean, that's the cart before the horse, though, because you got to get past what these words actually mean. If you're going to tell me I have favor, that means I have special treatment. If you're going to tell me I'm dealing with fairness, well, then I'm owed this. I worked for it. It's mine.
Do you pay taxes? Not you. I mean, this is for the sake of the conversation.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm good.
Right. You pay taxes, yeah?
No, they take taxes.
That's the point. Oh, now we're on the street.
They take those.
They take them. Right. Is it fair? No. You get taxed for every product that you buy, retail. Mm-hmm. You get taxed for they take it like for your wages, they take it, and for everything you purchase. And then when it comes income tax time, you ask permission. Please, you petition the same people that took it to give you back, and they give you a portion of what you already worked for.
We're just talking about bullying, right?
Right, bullying. Right. It's the mob. It's the mob, right? And then they say, you know what? We ain't give you nothing back. You owe us more.
Yeah.
So not fair.
It's not.
You are fair, and you were perfect in thinking with your assessment of favor being set apart, different. More than a light shining on this one. More than yes, the fair part though is outside the limitedness of our scope. That's why.
Yeah, I think that we'll get back, but I think that when you're dealing with favor, right, and fairness, right. When we say it, right, it is I have favor. You may not think it's fair. Right, that I have this, right? And but again, I think that what you're invoking is that in a God economy, you don't get to decide what's fair and what's not. One of the greatest stories of favor in the Bible is Joseph, right? Not partial, I don't know, just have to be named after the guy, right? But he gets the coat, right? There could be a context where his brothers say that's not fair. Well, it absolutely was fair. You know why? Because he had a different assignment on his life than y'all did. And he needed to understand that he was set apart in order for everybody to be saved. We talk about this all the time. It's okay for you to decide that you're the best choice and in certain contexts. Now, to the brothers, it's not fair. But to his daddy, it's absolutely fair. I wasn't supposed to have that kid. I'm old. Right? He wasn't supposed to be here. His mom's dead. I'm doing this, right? And maybe he can see beyond it. But from a God context, I don't think we're allowed to decide what's fair or not to God. And in the human realm, you know what I'm saying, special treatment, we call it favor. I mean, I don't know what God calls it. I mean, we don't really see a lot of words of favor in the Bible. You don't see grace. But at the end of the day, he's allowed to kind of do things how he wants. I could argue that it's not fair that I'm not 6'6". Well, I'm not 6'6", man. MJ is. Is that fair? I mean, it's not fair, I guess, from a human standpoint, right? But God is like,
because you want to play,
right? I mean, it is what it is. Some people can run a 4.240. I can't.
Yeah.
But I think I have other things that they can't do. You know what I'm saying? So from an omniscient standpoint, an all-powerful standpoint, that entity has the ability, I think, to beyond our scope of understanding, kind of make these decisions, which I think goes back to the point of God is the one who decides when life comes into being and when it doesn't. And in the case of the Egyptians, I think that the challenge is that he's the person that sent the judgment, right? And the blood really is on Pharaoh's hand because he could have let them go and didn't.
But how?
What do you mean, but how?
I think it was either Paul or Moses himself, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, where it says that Yahweh or the Lord actually hardened Pharaoh's heart. So even if Pharaoh wanted to free these people, it wasn't going to happen because God said, I raised them up to show my power in them.
Yeah, that was
So
after,
they was going to lose.
that was after the fourth time.
So
He didn't harden it the first time. He could have let them go after the first conversation,
Right.
and he didn't. And so I think that story, we see a measure of grace that is extended. But then, and again, this is a very biblical, almost Pentecostal motif that there's a certain point where you can be functioning in error, where God's grace says, okay, now you're going to do it your way. And then you're going to suffer the consequences of your way, which is, I firmly believe, what we're living in right now. Okay, y'all want to do this? So now boys are girls. Okay, that's what y'all decided. I didn't come up with this concept, right? But since you decided that you weren't going to do things my way, okay, I'm gonna let you do things your way.
hypothetical, if Yahweh decided that boys should be girls, y'all cool with that?
If he decided.
Sure.
So he's
Sure.
sovereign. So if God said, hey, y'all get into the transvestite thing because this is my will for today. I want you in heels and I want you in lipstick. I want you all these things.
Right.
Y'all done with that?
If he says so.
And then what is the point? That's what I'm going. That's what I would like to know. But it's still to sovereign to him. Here's the thing: in a supposition, it's just that, a supposition, which we are at the beginning are saying that, okay, we know this is outside of the thing, but let's just say,
Right.
in all of our pontificating right here, what reason would God say that would give him glory and omniscience that would make the absolute truth? What is the truth in that?
Well, according to you gentlemen, truth and goodness is whatever he desires.
Okay.
So it's not like, because I would
So
say
that would have a truth.
right,
That's the point.
but I would say like morality will be something that even supersedes God, in the sense that why would God be the kind of parent that says, do as I say and not as I do? I'm looking at you weird. No, yo, Pop, you told me not. Why you out there? You wilding right now.
God is that he said, these are the rules, and then you have volition to follow them not. You got to, it's just like parenting. You did a great analogy. As a parent, I said to mine, okay, this is what's acceptable, this is what's not. This is what I expect. Nobody told them to go against it. They concocted that. They have volition to say, you know what? I'm not gonna call at this time. I'm not gonna be home when the street lights are out. I'm not gonna, well, whatever the case is. I did that. I gotta get one more basketball game, 2 more shots, and we'll be there trying to run home before the light. I should be home before the lights, the street lights come on. I know y'all don't know nothing about that because that's old school, but we had to be home or within earshot of your mama's voice or daddy's voice by a certain time when the sun was going down, right?
Sure.
Right.
And I had a choice to not do it.
Yes, and then furthermore,
But the rules were there.
But that rule doesn't apply to your parents.
It does
And
not.
there are certain rules that apply to a child. There's certain rules that apply to a teenager. There's certain rules that apply to an adult that don't necessarily apply to the parent. For example, I use knives all the time. You can't use a knife. And
Your-
now you
right,
have,
your baby, yeah, right.
You have to do as I say and not as I do, because I'm in a position whereby I am an authority. I can tell you because I can see beyond. You're not allowed to do everything I do because you're not mature enough to handle it.
Yeah.
And so there comes a point in time in a parent-child relationship and in a creator-created relationship where God absolutely has full autonomy, just like every one of us, to say, you know what, these are the rules. You can't decide that because I made a rule for you that rule applies to me, because the rules don't always apply because we're not equals.
So we're not talking about morality then, we're just talking about power.
But we're talking about both, because it would be
Yeah, both.
absolutely
Yeah,
immoral for me to allow my 2-year-old to drive a car.
Oh my God.
That's it. That's an immoral act. It's immoral for me, for the 2-year-old and the
Right.
people around. And if I say no, you can't do that.
Right.
So I think that when it comes to God, essentially the creator, just like we have standards for us and different standards for our children, I believe that he has the same level of autonomy and sovereignty, if you will, to say, you know what, these are the standards. These are the rules that you need to adhere to. Because first of all, you're not me. You don't exist in my sphere of understanding. And you never will until you get to me. So you have to do it the way that I told you to do it. And it's parenting 101.
So God is completely and absolutely other. Is that what we're saying? We're not continuous with God. I thought we were created in his image.
We are, just like my child is created in mine.
But I'm saying if there is continuity and consistency with who father is and who sons and daughters are, but then there has to be some kind of complementarity in terms of behavior, in terms of character, in terms of quality of who that individual is, that is consistent over time. Because if there isn't that qualitative kind of distinction, then oh man, oh magic,
technology.
That didn't be, and then it was. Word, gee, oh my God, it sounds beautiful. In my own head. But it's like if there is not that level of consistency and continuity over time in terms of your disposition as a person, well then how can I say that I know you? How do I know you're trustworthy? How can we develop a relationship? How can we speak intelligibly of what you approve of or don't approve of if you're skittish and you're sporadic and you're sovereign and
Not
today
skittish.
I feel like this.
No,
and today I
because
feel
what
like
we have essentially from a biblical perspective and in just revelatory knowledge, we have this understanding of consistency. This is why when we look at the created order, we see a man and a woman. Those two distinctives are sacred. This is why when they come together and create a child, there is something sacred about that you're not supposed to, I would say, God would probably say, you're not supposed to destroy that, because this is an expression of my character, my love for you, right? And so you have this understanding of how to live in community. There is absolutely a standard that is interwoven in all of us of morality. Even probably the biggest Satanist of all time will tell you that there is some standard of morality that is interwoven in them. Because they're not just walking around murdering everybody that they come in contact with. They're not violating every aspect of, human sanctity, right? Because they understand that there is a line in this particular context. Where does that come from? That comes from the Almighty. This is why I'm saying outside of a Bible, we understand that life itself is sacred. There's a sanctity there. And so there really probably shouldn't have to be a rule that says don't kill, because we all understand.
It's intrinsic.
It's intrinsic.
Yeah.
It's imminent, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We understand this. And I think that when it comes to the abortion issue specifically, what has happened though is we keep trying to insert these exceptions and this ambiguity where we don't really know when life begins. We're just a clump of cells. There's a clump of cells in there. But we're all just a clump of cells, right? If we don't know when no, hold on. This thing is in development.
Right. That's
If you stop the development,
right,
you don't ever get to see what it's going to be.
Right.
Sure.
And
Right.
therein lies, I think, the problem with those people who are like pro-choice, that a woman has the full autonomy to make that choice. How? You didn't do what it took to create the opportunity to give you the choice.
That part. You weren't here. I said, one of the things I said over and over was, you participated in the process. You did not create anything.
Isn't that objectification though? If my body is just an instrument through which life is mediated, and I don't have any say so in where that life is mediated.
You control the vehicle. You control the instrument. You play it. The keyboard that's right there is not going to play by itself. I go and turn it on. So consider that like the body. It's a turn on. She tweaks you, turns you on, turns your brain on. You like, got the smell that you like, whatever that is. and you say, yes, this is awesome, and now I'm activated in whatever way that is, and commence to a thing. That is your that's the part, that's the participation part. The end part, this is the question I asked.
Okay.
How many times have you had sex and didn't get pregnant? Male or female, anybody? That is the answer. You didn't create it. You didn't say, no, I don't want to get pregnant. Because we have to look at the times when you tried to get pregnant, you want to get pregnant, and you're still having sex and no baby. So you cannot create it. You don't have that license or latitude to create life. You don't do it. All we do is avail ourselves and participate in the process.
And I would say it's absolutely objectification.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But the problem is that word is now pejorative. But what we need to say is you are the object that God has specifically chosen out of every object on the planet that's going to bring human life in. There is nothing more special than that. And what you need to do is respect the fact that you are an entity that nothing else can touch. A man can't do what you can do. And so it is objectification, but the problem is we make it negative, and we shouldn't.
Should not.
It is the most honorable thing that you can do in period. Outside of being able to outside of, I don't know anything that could be more sacred.
Well, okay.
And I'm saying take it out of a religious standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
The only way that we have society and community is because the object that life comes through, the woman chooses to allow that to happen.
Right.
That's awesome. It's all inspiring. Because what could be more precious than that?
And that part is y'all's choice. That is the choice. Women's choice, my body, myself, to allow the process to take place.
Yeah, that's you telling the woman what choice is. So I don't think that's a choice.
You got it. I'm saying take it from the other thing. We have put it just like he's saying it was pejorative. Just like ignorance, it's not a negative word. I teach ignorant is an okay word in my class. It's okay. It just simply means not knowing.
Right.
And we have the power to change that.
Right.
We can learn something and get it. But how well is it to know all the information and don't apply it?
Right.
That's still ignorant. That's still a degree of ignorance.
Yeah,
You know
I like that you said degree.
You know what I'm saying? It's a degree of ignorance.
Well,
So wisdom is the principal thing. And in this, it's the same thing as I was saying. That is more the woman's choice of your body, the objectivity of that, the objectifying of that. It is yours to participate in the process is where the choice should be. Not that, oh, I'm gonna take this life, abort. I'm gonna do that part, the pro-choice movement and all that. I'm just saying that is the wrong focus.
Let's deal with rape real quick, because you said that was the real hot button pushback that
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the number one
we'll get
choice.
into the abortion conversation.
Yeah.
So like if we're dealing with foreknowledge of God,
Mhm.
we're dealing with his omniscience. He sees things before they occur. Maybe he creates conditions and circumstances for those things that he can see to occur. And you deal with a rape. And are we saying that it was in God's divine will that the rape occurred? And since he willed that rape to occur, that life has to be sacred?
No,
Not. Yeah. You're going to judge. Yeah.
no, I wouldn't say that it was in his divine will that the rape occurred.
Correct.
I would say that it's in his divine will that conception occurred.
Yeah.
If
The allowance of something, is not mean that you willed it to happen. The allowance of it. That's what it goes back to volition, what we said earlier. You got a choice. These are the rules. You decide to follow them. Laws are made for the people that follow them.
Let me go back to what you said. You said you don't think it was in his divine will, but rape does occur.
Okay.
So then my question is, if I can't resist the will of God, how is God omnipotent?
Because he gives us choice.
That is the question. Hold on. We have to continue ours and
I'm watching.
Yeah,
Nobody, they're not live as they. Oh, yes, they are. I didn't see them. My bad, Facebook. I didn't see you.
it wasn't moving. It wasn't moving.
My bad. I saw it was stuck. My bad.
This one is not going. Okay.
All
Man,
right.
hold on.
My bad. I'm sorry.
So is birth control a sin? Great question.
I don't know why it's not going up like it used to. But
What say you, gentlemen?
Is birth control a sin?
That's a great question.
Who
See,
asked that?
Hey, what up, Iman?
One of the things that
Lolly
I
asked that.
kind of
Lolly.
pride myself on, you could say I'm scared. I try not to do a whole lot of like, is this a sin? Is that a sin? You know, because then it becomes, well, are you going to hell? Like, and I just feel like some stuff is above pay grade, right? So I don't know if I don't see how birth control could be a sin. I have heard stories of women who were on it kind of olden days and felt like they were sinning because they were preventing their body from doing what they were supposed to be doing.
That's where
for conception to occur.
Right.
And then you're going to tell me birth control is not a sin. And then I'm
I
thinking
didn't say it was. I didn't say
thinking-
it wasn't.
Okay. And I'm thinking of owning, that living right law. He goes into his sister. He's like, I don't want to raise up no kids to you. He spills the seed on the ground. God kills this guy. Sound like to me he's not into birth control.
But see,
he's
that's
not
a very-
into pulling out.
That was a very specific,
Yeah.
very specific entity where he's supposed to continue to line up his brother. I've had this conversation a bunch of times. And in that particular case, boom. But there is parts of the biblical record where, a man spilling his seed, is looked at as an abominable act.
If we're taking that the absolute purpose of it is for procreation.
So sex is not recreation?
But
According to God?
But in the case where your brother dies and you're supposed to continue the line, you're going to get some pleasure from that. But the point of that is to procreate the line, right? And so if you decide that you're not going to do it, then you might be stepping into some dangerous territory, right? Between you and God. Again, I think that it's very difficult for me to remove myself from the Western lens of Christianity, right?
Beat me to it.
And understanding life, right? Because if we didn't have some of that, we would probably have 25 billion people on the planet right now. You know what I mean?
But the problem with that is what? The problem with that is what?
I don't see a problem.
Me either.
Except that there's this thing that says, well, there's already too many people here, right? Even though I don't agree, but this is kind of what we're being taught, what we're being told, that there's too many people, which is why you have all of this. And again, one of the reasons why, from a very spiritual perspective, I am basically pro-life. But just honestly, just pragmatically, I'm like, man, we would not be getting outpaced if they didn't smack Planned Parenthood in our communities. And I'm talking just population-wise. Mm-hmm. And our issues, our challenges would just essentially become somewhat eradicated if we had more of us to make decisions about things. And so from just a purely just pragmatic, selfish Black people perspective, I'm like, look, man, get rid of it.
Let's have babies.
Let's have babies. Yeah.
So that's why I was
right, really. And
so
like, I hate to say that as a pastor, but I mean, I've really been on that like for a minute, because I've heard the statistics, man, that, is white women that, whatever. And I understand that. But if we're having a similar percentage, then we're losing because there's less of us. And there was coming a time, and all of us have old school grandparents where my grandma had 14, 9, 12. This was the families, bro.
Yeah.
And if you think about just the average, America was going to be Black, not brown,
right,
not beige. It's going to be Black in about a generation.
Yeah.
The way that we was having fun, Marvin Gaye with no TVs.
Let me say though,
it was coming.
It started as Black. You know what I mean? Even the word indie man was what it was at first, and then indigenous, indigo was the color, the darkness of that. It was already that before some other things happened. And so no problem. It's no problem for that. We can be Black, all of it. And to Erica's question, I think yes, it's a problem. If it's not a natural thing. Birth control, that is. Yes, because our focus in this culture, love that we keep bringing that word up, this society is specifically for pleasure of whatever it is, pleasure and power.
Can I go back to something you said, Pastor?
Yes.
You said you hate as a pastor to say, and then you said what you needed to say about how this conversation is applicable to the Black community. And I'm like, what would preclude you as a pastor to not be specific to your own group?
Well, I hate to just say it from a practical, kind of pragmatic, I wish we had more Black people on the planet perspective. As a pastor, I wish I could give you a spiritual perspective as well. Even though I do have the spiritual perspective. I believe that life is sacred. I believe it begins in the womb. I believe in the word that I'm talking about, stare decisis.
Yeah.
That the decision that has been should be the decision that's been, and the decision that has been is not to abort people. You know what I mean, right? But I do believe life is sacred.
It's
But
dangerous.
It is.
The decision that has been should be they used to lynch us, you know what I mean?
But that wasn't the original decision, though.
That's
See,
not the way
that wasn't the OG decision.
You got to go to the original, what
yeah,
is
that's-
first
that's-
string of the matter.
Right, and I'm
Pull
with you,
that
and
string.
I'm with you, and that's been some of the argument for continuing Roe v. Wade. That for 40, 50 years we've made this progress.
Right.
We shouldn't undo it when we have essentially 10,000 years of civilization where that really wasn't. It wasn't a law that said you could. The law essentially was established that this wasn't something that even really needs to be discussed. And then if a woman did that, she was crazy or something. You know what I'm saying?
In the
Whatever.
early 1900s, you could go to jail for teaching that the earth was a globe.
You sure could.
Law.
But
Same.
I'm just
saying,
from a pastoral perspective, people look at you as a spiritual leader. But I should not have said that. I shouldn't have said that. Because I feel like we need more Black people. Period.
Yeah.
So period.
What's the problem with that?
Right, period.
It should be no issue.
Hello? Look
And-
right in the cameras.
And even
More
looking
beautiful Black people on the planet.
and even looking at the Egypt-Israel motif, one of the issues was the Israelites began to outpace the Egyptians, according to the biblical record. It was becoming more. And the government decided we got to do something about
That
it.
was a threat, right?
Yeah. And I feel like, man, maybe that could have been the thing to get us up out of this country. And again, some of this stuff I say to my people, I don't really say out loud that much because people probably look at me crazy. But the idea of immigration, I think, is a beautiful concept, not coming in, but the one that Lincoln was trying to do, people, the great emancipator. Let me help you out. He pulled together an immigration with the E, trying to get us out of here. And there is nothing really wrong with that to me. I think it would be great. We should leave tomorrow if we had a place to go. But
If you had a place to go.
that the idea of outpacing may have sparked something that said, nah, we got to get these Negroes up out of here. Into our
I agree with you because I remember you just said the narrative is being disseminated that there's too many people on the planet. And then I was going to ask you, well, who is propagating that narrative?
That part, that's what I meant.
Is it us telling that story or is
Nah,
it other
We're the
folks?
ones being programmed with that.
Right. So then it could be that the real narrative is too many youngs on the planet.
Yeah.
Right.
Wonderful people.
Yeah, man.
That's what we call
Right. That's W's.
Too many wonderful people.
Too many.
Let me go back to one of the things that Pastor Williams says: preventing pregnancy is not the same thing as aborting life, which I think I would agree with that. And Jorenda Williams made a point about in the country with the highest maternal mortality rate, the woman might be killed too. If she's Black, she's 3 times as likely to die in childbirth than white women, which is a very significant issue. And it speaks to, again, we should be in charge of bringing our lives into the world.
Yeah.
And man, we're dealing with a whole lot, but medicine in general, gynecology in general, is a product of white supremacy. The medical
Did y'all
industry-
catch that? You,
Yeah, I mean, this is
Talk
let
to
that
us,
hang in
sir.
the air, you know what I'm saying?
the way that medicine, the way that it is.
You worth more
Even-
sick.
Yes.
Mm.
So this speaks to another issue that needs to be handled. But I would say, this is my sister, that the solve isn't abortion is. The solve is we need to make fundamental changes in healthcare and the understanding of how to care for people of color. Because see, even the stuff that we eat prescribed to us by the FDA, it's not really for people of color. It's for others. And so there's a fundamental flaw in almost everything interwoven in this country, but particularly in the healthcare field. One of the reasons why we die from hypertension is because of the way that y'all care for us. It's not because there's something inherently flawed with the Black human. It's just the way that food and drugs are being brought to us and the way that we consume them, the way that we're being cared for.
European diet.
Yeah, it's a European diet. It's
Hello.
not for us.
See?
It's not ITIL, it's just whatever. Anyway, we're dealing with a lot of these things, but we have to get to these other guys.
Please.
And we're not going to be able to play them, but I would like to bring up that there are, bro, I didn't know, we talked about 2. There's about 10. I think I showed you a video. Notable pastors. One of the pastors pastors the largest church in Philly, 15,000 members. I joke all the time about my pastor, Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant. He pastors New Birth. At one time, they had 40,000 members, biggest Black church in America. They don't have that now, but they're on their way. We talked about Bishop William Murphy. The backlash or the pushback from African-American preachers now is they are going after civil rights and other rights, and that there is a demonic, and these are quotes, people. We're sorry we can't play them. There is a demonic attack on our women, and they're going to start coming for civil rights, and that the overturn of Roe v. Wade is an attack, a demonic attack on the civil rights of women, and it's setting the stage for the country to come after the rights of people, Black people in particular. And we need to be prayerful and aware. I'm giving you quotes. I wish I could play this, but I'm giving you quotes from at least 3 of the most prominent African-American pastors in America. And it shook me because I was like, wow, to me, we sound like white people on the other side who have married their party and their politics to their religion. It sounded like that to me. And I really wanted y'all to hear what they had to say and to respond. Because even if you are pro-choice, how does the overturn of Roe v. Wade, in your opinion, bust down to an attack on women, an attack on civil rights, and setting the stage for other rights essentially to be attacked? How did that sound to you? Because it sounds very weird to me.
It sounds like fear mongering. And it sounds like there are ideas that are being conflated that don't naturally inhere or cohere together. You know what I mean? I talk about power all the time, every time I get on here.
Yeah.
And basically, the laws of the land are only as good as the people who enforce them. So at any moment, all of our quote unquote civil rights and liberties can be under threat.
Right.
They can roll that. It's not because this Roe v. Wade scenario
Not at all.
Right.
is triggering that.
Right.
That's just what power is. Power is what I say. And so long as I say, y'all are right. When I say it ain't, y'all gonna have to deal with that. And it's always gonna have to come down to us being ready to have a real confrontation.
So you think that it's fear mongering coming from our pulpits to our people for the purpose of retaining power?
For the purpose of retaining democratic influence and power. because you're talking about the confluence or the conflating of, like you just said, your religion and your politics. And to me, those things are always coterminous. I've never seen a break between the two. They might rhetorically say there's a separation of church and state, but behaviorally, they ain't bad together.
Yeah, that was one of the pastors said that, who was saying that we cannot legislate morality, that there is a separation of church and state. And I've a lot of times contended that that's just not really biblical. But Mike and I have shared a bunch of times, and I've said this a number of times, and the boomers can attest that as a African American Christian in America, I feel like I can't identify with either party. I really feel like I exist in a no man's land, because it feels like the party that will even act like they're trying to promote social justice, civil rights, is also the party that, for lack of a better word, seems to hate God and wants to remove him and his standards from everything.
Right.
It's also the party that that has in many cases removed prayer from schools, is promoting the alphabets, all of that. It's the same party. And then on the other end, you have the party that essentially is, socially conservative, pro-life, believes in kind of a small government, certain things. But then they seem to be the party of the hoods and the Klan. And I can't stand black people. And we don't want you teaching critical race theory. I saw a meme the other day that summed it up about them, that these were the people who were, their parents were lynching black people. They took them to the lynchings as kids, who told their grandkids about it, but they don't want their grandkids to know about what their parents were doing and want laws against it. It's like, man, we live in this weird dichotomy in this country, particularly if you call yourself a Christian as an African American, where you really can't identify, in my opinion, with either party. And I was very much troubled by the towing the party line that I'm listening to from these guys, even down to the point where one pastor was like, look, I don't have an opinion. I'm going to just tell you what the Bible says. And while I'm not going to give you an opinion about homosexuality, I cannot tell you who you can and cannot marry, which is very interesting, right? Because you kind of can. You're allowed to do that. You don't have to marry anybody you don't want to. Hetero, homo, anything. You can choose not to marry somebody. So, boom. But he said that's not our responsibility, right? And I don't really have an issue if that's your conviction, but I'm listening to these people and they're towing the party line of Democrats, and then they're invoking this idea that there's a demonic attack against us and we need to pray. And I'm like, man, what is going on? This is weird.
Yeah, all right.
And I know you love it because it's all weird to you.
It is. I mean, the only struggle I see is between, us who are of African descent and are children of the diaspora, prisoners of war here in America, and Euro-Americans, and global white supremacy. And like we were talking about these diets, and they're based on Eurocentric standards, and they kill us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to be a normal black person in America is to be a sick African, is what I think.
Yeah.
Dr. Amos Wilson was saying.
Right.
And so it's just like, that's not just what we ingest, in terms of what we eat,
right,
but the information we ingest. That's why I always touch on how we're educated. We're not educated for the benefit of our community, but we're educated to be exploited by, the dominant populace.
Right.
And even with religion, it's not geared towards kind of stoking the revolutionary flames that need to occur in our spaces for us to thrive as a group.
Right.
So I'm questioning, all of it is on the question to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Concerning the parties have been going on You must understand that you're not invited, but you're standing on the sidewalk saying, let me in, let me in. And because you're on the sidewalk, you're yelling at people on the cars on the street going by and saying, I'm at the party. But you're not even in the house.
Outside.
Breezy said, how you gonna hate from outside?
I'm trying to show you something. You're not even in the party. And you're chanting to the top of your lungs the mantras of parties where you're not invited.
But what are we supposed to do, man? Like
Segregation has always been the way.
but we live here.
We do. That don't mean the book that we reference, we call it a reference book.
Yeah.
Say be in it and not of it.
Come on, preach. Now I like that kind of
So now we're in it, but we're not of it. Can we really be that? This comes down to a matter of programming. We talked earlier. You asked me about. We said it. And he said that. Erica said about that. There was a great question about birth control.
Yep.
And we were going around. And I'm thinking like, yeah, birth control, a sin. If we look at the grand scheme of things, what is the point of laying together, right? The laying together is for to get a child. It happens to be in that moment pleasurable.
Amen.
Right? It happens to be that. But in this culture, we are concentrating on the pleasure and not the product or the results of it. And the old people would say, holiness is right. Right? They would stay at the church all night, and you don't touch her and don't be. Why? Because this is the end result. Don't do it. Birth control, another different time was don't do it.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't a box.
Keep it tight. Keep it tight.
Or a pill.
Sure. Song of Solomon would disagree though. Solomon be like, yo, I ain't talking about having no baby. I'm talking about the mountains.
Doing the thing.
Metaphorically.
He said all of that, but then she was his.
Yeah.
We can do this thing. If we have a baby that comes out of it, we're not going to prevent that part. This is the point. I'm going for the pleasure, and I can accommodate the results.
Yeah.
You
The
see what I'm
wealthiest
saying?
man alive.
Right.
Sure. I understand.
We can accommodate that. And so in this and my mom worked for family planning. 33 years. So I feel the type of way. I'm already there.
I
right?
understand.
Already there.
One of the most progressive things that my granddad did, and this is well documented, he had a well baby clinic inside of the church.
In the church.
We get it, bro. Like I told you, I've kind of come here. I didn't start out here.
Right.
Come here.
Arrived.
And again, it's like
Got you.
when we were talking about bullying earlier, right? Bullying is what got Donald Trump elected, right? Because he's a bully, and he figured out a way that people love bullying, and he riled up a bunch of white people that said, you know what, we need to start being bullies again, and we're sick of you, nice people, and got elected, right? So the only way for us to get him out of office is to elect Sleepy Joe, who, in my opinion, is one of the worst presidents in the history of life, right? And he is just fundamentally opposed to almost everything I stand for. And real talk, I voted for the guy. I didn't really vote for him. I was trying to get Trump out of it, right? That. But here's the thing, and I think I shared something with you the other day. We're talking about Reagan, right? If you're African American,
I made a post about
person
Reagan.
About
got a lot of
in our age, like Reagan. Come on, man. Like, okay, all right, what are we doing? But Reagan and Trump, when it comes to being pro-choice or pro-life, they made some great points. Like, yo.
So Reagan said, so I made a post that said, I wrote anything and they still shot me. I have never liked this guy. Never had feelings with this guy, his wife, the DARE program, none of that, right? But this quote, I need to hear from y'all. He said a few things, and he concluded with, it seems to me that everybody who's against abortion already been born. Yeah, so I said,
Mic drop.
Boom. That's like
Yeah, I got you.
Everybody's alive.
We're not-
you are alive. You are against it, but you already
right. But you want against it for you, right? Right.
Yeah.
And then I was watching the debate between Trump and Hillary. Like I think I sent it to you.
Yeah,
And Trump was
yeah.
just like, nah, we ain't trying to hear that.
Can we back up though? Because I did bring up Solomon, and you did
Yeah.
say, yo, you know, we in it for the pleasure, but I can accommodate the end result. I'm the richest man in the world. And it sounds like 50 Cent have a baby by me be a millionaire.
Right.
And it's just like,
Big Sammy.
isn't that kind of patriarchal? It's like, hey, yo, baby, had this baby because I'm gonna be able to take care of it.
Oh yeah, but it's definitely playing right into that pleasure thing. I said it was two things: pleasure and power. That's it. We're not doing anything for the sake of and the result of procreation. You want this moment, not the next moment.
But what if the woman is like, I don't care if you could take care of this baby, I don't want to have the baby.
So then don't have the baby. Now, is this a Solomon conversation? Because he's the king and he's wealthy and he can do the, you know what I'm saying?
it's-
Or he's 50 Cent or he's Nick Cannon.
Solomon
You know
as
what I
a
mean?
case study, but men in general. Because right now,
If she
seems to
says
be-
no, you don't. That's not for you right there. Go somewhere else. She says no.
But
Why?
but I think you're saying she says no after, right? After y'all have sex.
Oh. So she's pregnant and she don't want to keep.
Yeah, like
Oh.
she had no intention of getting pregnant. She was there for the pleasure too. You know,
Yeah, you
I'm
shouldn't have
there
been there for the pleasure though. You shouldn't have
You
been
feel
there
me?
for the pleasure.
And then you're telling me because you have means, I should just go ahead and put my body through these changes. And she's like, nah, B, I gotta go to work and I don't want
All of that conversation that we talking about right now
Yeah.
should be before.
Mm.
It should be before. When we're not dealing with the thing. So this conversation about rape
Mhm.
and as it pertains to abortion has always come up about. That's the cornerstone thing, rape. What we're not dealing with in the trauma of that is the trauma of that. The mental thing that we don't address that. We're saying, okay, what we do with the baby, and nobody's telling what's going on with the woman or the man that got raped. What's going on? Then we're not dealing with the trauma of that, the mental of that. And we're not dealing with, if you do this, this will happen. If you and we frown on other countries, but if you steal something, they cut your hand off. Guess what? They don't have a lot of stealing stuff.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about this. Just another hypothetical. This is where my brain works sometimes. Like, so I heard a poet say, he said, life is a sexually transmitted disease, right? I'm just gonna go there with that real quick.
All
And
right.
he's like, and I'm thinking to myself,
That's a
in
dope
a
part.
rape situation, let's say an STD is communicated to the woman.
Yeah.
We don't say, hey, yo, you gotta keep that STD, you know, 'cause it's alive, and you know, you try to deal with the situation.
Yeah.
So carry that a step further, where it's like, yo, I didn't agree to the sex. This man raped me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now you're telling me I gotta carry the baby of my rapist to full term. I gotta be able to see the offspring of my rapist walk around.
Yeah.
And I'm just supposed to be okay with that.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of tough.
I think it's very
We're
tough.
asking women.
I think it's very tough. And
I agree.
Jenkins talks about it, and I would say that you have to. The only way to really deal with it is to take a hard line stance and say there has to be a grander, greater purpose for you to have gone through that trauma and to have this child. That's the only way you're going to be able to square it. And it's very difficult because that one to me is very tough. And because I got daughters, bro. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, man, I don't know that if something like that happened to my daughter
Right.
and she said, Dad, and now obviously we're in a post-Roe world. So the option is kind of off the table. But if the option was on the table, she was like, Dad, I don't know what I would do in that
Yeah.
particular
Because
situation.
what if epigenetically speaking, you know, the offspring might be predilected towards that kind of violent behavior.
Yeah, of course.
And then the woman is afraid, like, am I raising a rapist or like a
Yeah, I mean,
potential-
because at the end of the day, you are sharing the genes of somebody who raped your mom. I mean, that's a reality.
yeah.
You can't get around it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That is a reality.
And then to your other point, like, oh, there has to be a purpose for, and that's my issue with God's divine plan to a certain degree. It's like you don't have any amicable means to bring about your purposes you're gonna have to use rape or torture or somebody being maimed to bring about your greater good. Like, come on, God, you
No,
gotta
the
be more
greater
creative
good
than
is
that.
what it is. The means is the part that is outside of our understanding. With the means of that is we still are putting our lenses on it.
Yeah.
Our
Yep.
I keep saying this word, the finiteness of our scope is what is limited to what it's limited to, right?
Yep.
And then the outside of that, the omnipotent part that you're talking of, the omniscient part, is outside of that scope.
Well, how can I be faulted for my finitude?
You're not faulted for it. We putting it in perspective. You're saying, I don't understand. Okay, this part you can get. You're not going to understand this. That's why you're not God, and it exists outside of you. But there's still a plan. Follow this plan. This other thing happened in the process, right? And God is saying, okay, I got you on that too. So that happened. I got that too. We're getting to the end part right here.
My only issue with that is it sounds like a reimagination of the God of the gaps theory. You know what I mean? Where it's like wherever our limits of our understanding go and ignorance comes in, we put God in. Like, we don't understand, so God be God.
That does happen.
He's
but
working in mysterious ways. I'm like, yo,
no. But again, we are not addressing the mental the trauma of the thing.
Okay.
Number one, we're not doing that. And the solve has to be God. At what point is it not?
Okay.
God is the
You both have daughters?
Yes.
So your daughter gets raped, she conceives. What's the conversation?
I just told you, bro, that's tough. I don't know. I think, and oh man, I hate saying stuff like this, but I think that as a father and as a spiritual leader, that I would try to comfort her and deal with obviously the trauma of what happened to her, and then hopefully be able to help her be good with the decision that she makes. And my lean would be for her to have the baby. Obviously, we're living in a now post-Roe world, and so the idea of abortion is probably off the table, and probably will be by the time she gets the age to where she can conceive. And I don't know how to make it easy, right? I don't know how to make that easy. God forbid I have to deal with that conversation. The only thing that I can liken it to is, okay, when you said, God, why can't you come up with an amicable way to bring about your plan, right? And like that would be the easy way to do it, right? The only thing that I can see in my kind of finitude is that sometimes what feels like is injuring us or is pain to us is absolutely in the end going to bless us. It happens in sports. It happens in, I think of, the Karate Kid, right? Where he's like, man, and then you find the muscle memory and it's like, oh, wow, that was the plan all along. My arms are hurting. I'm in pain, right? I don't understand because I can't see beyond what's happening to me right here. Well, Mr. Miyagi is 50,000 years old, so he can see beyond, right? And obviously, I don't want to trivialize rape to Karate Kid, right? It's not the same. But I'm saying.
Somebody gonna be offended.
Yeah, I'm saying the only thing that I'll be able to think of is like, if we're trusting the Creator, right? If we're trusting that He's able to see beyond, has already seen all of the past and can see way beyond, then we have to trust Him in the most traumatic times in our lives, and that this child, the responsibility is bigger than what we can see right now. That would be the only thing that I think that I could say. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't know how to rationalize it.
I was just going to say, to kind of ratchet it up, she's raped, she conceives, she has HIV, and so does the baby. Where's God's master plan in that? Baby's gonna die prematurely or whatever.
So now, for me,
Wifey.
and I'd like to hear from you in the questions that you're posing to
Yeah.
have a kind of resolve in it yourself.
Yeah.
But concerning HIV, these things that we're bringing up, these diseases and things, I think that they are, for the most part, man-made, but also there are cures for those things. And we are removed from that. We talked about healthcare a little earlier. I think there is an answer for everything that comes against our vessels here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a specific answer. In 84, I believe it was, between 84 and 86, Dr. Sabi was on trial for the very thing that we're talking about and cured it.
Yep.
He took out an ad in the New York Times, New York Post or Times, I think the Times, saying that I can cure these things. I'm a doctor. Took out a whole big quarter-page ad. AIDS, cancer, asthma, herpes, anything that you have that's ailing your temple like that, I can cure it. They arrested him, jailed him, said you can't do that. It's fraud, false. Yes, to claim these things. He had 72 people show up on his behalf on their own dime around the world, flying in. They awarded him $40 million. This is what we should be learning about, right? For the sake of being able to do what they convicted him for. It went away very quietly. They pushed it under the rug. All that being said, the idea of, okay, these attacks, these things coming in on us, solvable. Let's get to the knowledge of that. Solvable. The idea about the abortion and the rape part, we don't have two things. The protection of it. I was talking about this stealing and cutting off your hand. What is the preventative measures? We don't have that.
Right.
Harvey Weinstein been doing it for years.
Oh, Island.
And then Epstein, same thing, chilling. So we put Epstein in jail. How many people is on the manifest?
That's why he's dead.
Wow, yeah.
Also, we've been told
Yeah.
that he's dead.
What's going right? He ain't gonna
You see what I'm saying? So I think that we shouldn't don't rape nobody. That's number one. No.
One people, if you take it into TNT.
Why do we even
Do not
It's
rape
almost
nobody.
like why we even have to have this conversation,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But since that's the cornerstone argument, that's
Right.
our focus.
Right.
One of my daughters gets raped and has again. I'm like you. I'm like Joe. We have children. Man, I don't want to have this conversation. But
No.
since this is our supposition, I'm leaning towards okay, have the baby because I'm still on the same question. And then I'm kind of that guy. But absolute is this black or white? Don't kill. You didn't create it,
It's got to be that.
right? You didn't create it.
Can't wait.
And what is the ultimate goal of the great Almighty I Am, as Joe says, in this situation? Because we didn't do it. What we are responsible for is our response to a situation. But we didn't create that.
Yep.
We didn't create that. And that's a tough, they say the titty is tough, but the milk is sweet. That's a tough jank.
Milk might be sour.
Because I am telling you and telling the world, we can look right in the camera. There is nowhere you can hide if you did that on this whole plane of a world, not anywhere that you can even, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't even
I
hide.
have a certain set of skills.
And you can call certain people if they know that happened to your child.
Yeah.
They will be there with you or go before you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's easy.
Yeah, before you answer, I want to see if somebody can fact check me. Wasn't like Beethoven's mom raped or something like that? Or was it one of them? One of the guys, because I know that he went blind or something. I don't know, but somebody fact check me. Beethoven or Bach or something. I don't think it's Bach. I think it's Beethoven because I think he's black.
He is
Uh,
More recent history, they say Smokey Robinson was a product of rape.
Really?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, everybody. Oh God, man, I hate talking about rape.
Sorry.
Because
It's ugly though.
it's a nasty
It's
thing.
an ugly reality.
And like the dumbest thing that a father could say to his daughter is, well, you might have the next Beethoven. That's stupid, right? You don't say that. Right. But the truth is,
right. That's the worst thing, right?
Yeah, man. That's like saying the ends justify the means.
right. No, you don't, right. You don't say that. And that's why I say I hate
That's
talking
what you
about
say. You don't
because
like it.
It's like, it doesn't excuse anything.
Right.
But I am trying to speak to a higher order thinking in that every life is precious, right? And you could be the vehicle that changes, not maybe the world, but changes your family. That child could be, the vehicle that heals you from the trauma.
That's right.
It was Beethoven's mom. Okay, it heals you from the trauma. You just don't know what it could be. And I think that's, we're going to let you answer, but that's kind of what this whole thing is about. That oftentimes we are preempting the possibilities of something that we didn't bring into fruition. And I think that, again, sometimes we're operating above our pay grade because that's not really our responsibility.
If I had God's knowledge, if I was on the same pay grade as God, but still living in my fleshly body,
Right.
and I got a woman pregnant, and I knew that kid was going to be a mass murderer, I probably would encourage my wife to go ahead and abort that baby because I know the pain he's going to bring into the world down the line. I'm not going to do that to the community. Like that's a blight, that's a curse, a burden to the community. And my responsibility at that point to everybody I'm connected to is to keep them from that pain. So I'd be like, hey, yo, baby, he gonna kill a lot of people. You might need to consider.
No,
I'm not telling you what to do.
No,
Choose.
that's real because it to me it speaks to wow. So
It's hypothetical.
okay, but let's deal with it real quick before we leave. Because see, I think I agree with you, right? And I think that the Bible even deals with this from a perspective that I think is very strange. There's a story where the disciples asked Jesus about the guy who was born blind. Did this man sin with his parents?
Yeah.
Born blind, how you
Nobody
sin? Right.
did.
It's very, something that we should deal with in theology, right?
Right.
But let me see if I can do it the way that it's kind of coming to me, right? I consider Thomas Jefferson a murderer and a rapist. He is also the man that wrote the Declaration of Independence. He's also the man who prophetically, I think, spoke to what we're dealing right now. I tremble for my country, God is just. His life, to me, the question is, if you're omnipotent, right, and you could see this guy's life, should he have been taken out because of the damage that he did to these families? Or should he have been allowed to been birthed because he has essentially rewritten our understanding of what life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is? And it's a very tough thing to deal with because we celebrate in a country a gang of mass murderers. If we're being honest.
I don't celebrate none of them.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about it's on our money. It's on our monuments. We name cities after these people. These are people that are celebrated, that we learn about in history. Some of them are the worst scum of the planet. Some of them have made great contributions to understanding life better, right? You see what I'm saying? And so there is this kind of dichotomy. It's like, well, if your son was a mass murderer, but he was Thomas Jefferson, if you're this guy, right? What would you do then? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a tough one, isn't it?
It's not tough for me.
I know it ain't.
It's not tough only because like even in his good, he's an evil person.
Yep.
Because all them highfalutin words he wrote, we weren't included. We outside the party. We outside the club. Like we were 3/5.
Right.
So what? It's not for me to celebrate.
Still outside.
That's for them. That ain't y'all celebrate. That's your holiday.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
It's true though.
I don't agree with Thomas Jefferson,
that
George
all men
Washington.
are created equal and endowed
Or-
by their creator with certain inalienable rights.
Yeah, but he was talking
The
about
life,
white
liberty,
men.
and
He was
but
talking
you
about.
you can't, but right, it doesn't matter what he was talking about. You can't get away from the truth of it. See, just because you were trying to keep me out of it, you can't escape the truth of it. God can speak through an ass. He spoke through a mass murderer, right? That's a true statement. I think it's backed up in scripture that we're all created equal. And you don't have any more rights to this than I do.
My thing is though, if God is speaking through an ass, doesn't it come with a smell?
Yeah, I think that.
That's all the time we have for tonight.
We will see you next week.
That's all
We love you, Facebook.
the time.
I'm sorry, we were tripping.
No, man, you good.
That is-
But I'm with you. I think
Who's
that's
to say that baby will die prematurely? Most people believe that death is premature.
yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
And
like
all
you
death is
said,
premature. Yeah,
Yeah,
no matter when you die.
but like you said, I mean,
Yeah, I
the
feel
reality is that if we believe in the Creator, right? He's a healer. We believe that He can heal from diseases and sicknesses and trauma and all types of things. And there are methods that He uses. So again, I mean, I think where I am now in my life, and God forbid, the Lord forbid, thank you, forbid this to happen to any of our kids, that I have to have that conversation. I think though, right now, I would lean towards trying to encourage my daughter to continue and go through with it. I think I would, but I don't know. I can't say if I was in that moment, and I'm praying I never have to be in it.
What you gonna do to the guy?
That was my other question.
Call my boys, and we're gonna. I'm not gonna tell you our strategy.
Oh, that made me think of what was it, Samuel L. Jackson, Time to Kill. In that scenario, he took away the capability of his daughter to conceive and carry
Yeah,
life.
it's terrible.
It's an ugly world, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I just feel like we can't necessarily dictate to women how they're gonna navigate these scenarios. Because I feel like I read a book years ago. It was called Rape Culture. And it was kind of just speaking to even how our morality is situated through the lens of patriarchy in a male-dominated world, and it completely excludes the female perspective. And of course, so like Eurocentric men,
Right.
it's not us, who did that,
Right.
but we just happen to come up, socially in these
Right.
spaces that they've, created and were indoctrinated in. And
So you think it's patriarchal? I mean, I think Will Jenkins addresses that a man is not a man's right, but it's a God right. That God is absolutely the one who can say.
but God is the ultimate male.
Okay, but if you
We call him him. He's that him.
okay, but if you establish, but okay, well then it is patriarchal, and then we
Of
have
course.
to be fine with it because this is not man. Look, I believe in this, and you and I have had this conversation before that if I invent football, I get to establish what the rules are. I can decide that you have to play it left-handed. I'm sorry, it just is what it is because I invented it. You can say it's not fair, but if I invent it, then I'm allowed to establish the rules for it. You can say that's Josepharical. Well, it is. It just is what it is. How do we get around it? I don't think that we can get around it. So I think we have to deal with
It's gangsterism, bro. It's the ultimate get down and lay down. It's my rules or no rules. What's up?
Submission. Submission is it's a matter of perspective, even in the terminology. We can put whatever label on it, and it's how we look at it. It's three of us looking at a movie and getting three perspectives, even from the chairs we're sitting in, and then from the past that we bring to the table. So submission is a will thing. Like it shows strength. We are laying our will under subject of this. Like that's a will. That's the will thing. So that's not the bullying gangster part. Like when you say gangster, no. These are the rules, like we say about parenting. You can follow them or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think
You have a choice in the matter.
Yeah, I think that
Gangster, you don't have a choice.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
when we're dealing with the Almighty, right? Even when you go to the idea of the original sin of Adam and Eve, I mean, some people will say, well, why issue a divine prohibition? Well, he gave you everything. It was like, you get all of this, just don't do this. And it's like some feminist is going to say, well, that's patriarchal. Let me just go and plague y'all right now. It's going to say that's patriarchal. No, it's not. He gave you every single thing and said that this is the rule. And if it is patriarchal, it is. You just have to abide by the rules because you didn't create yourself. It's called, like you said, it's submission. This order. This is how it has to. It's just how it works.
You have to exercise self-control, which to submit is a great. That's a great thing to be able to do that and lay down your own will.
But if I'm submitting to somebody else, that's not self-control. I'm otherwise controlled because the locus of control is externalized. It's somebody else I'm submitting to.
You are allowing that so as a parent, you give rules to your children.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. They go outside of that. They have the latitude to do that with no retribution from you, no rebuke from you. No, this is wrong. Don't play in the street.
No, you really own my timing because I was like thinking with God, like how is it really a choice if I disobey you, there's the threat of hell. Why can't I do what I want to do and thrive? Like leave me alone. Like if you gave me free will, why are you gonna castigate me or chastise me for using it?
You can't.
Choices have
You know
consequences.
what I'm saying? No. I can do with consequences, but this guy's talking about punitive consequences. These are things that he initiates. Like, yo, bro, I got this. I can thrive over here. You deal with hell. Hell is for you. You deal with that. Me right here, I'm creating my space and we thrive and we good. Like with the Tower of Babel, it was good. What was the consequence? It wasn't a consequence until God came down, hated on them. Oh, they about to go build the heaven. You know, like, bro.
Because the intent of it, you are good in a matter of what perspective. It's still a matter of perspective. Good to what end? I'm good because I'm thriving to what? Happiness is a choice and success is too. There are people that don't have cell phones who are happy. And somebody with a cell phone will be like, I don't know how you live like that. That is the worst. I would be unhappy. Well, it's a choice. And it's programming and volition. And the people that were doing Tower of Babel, what made it successful? Why were they good? Because they were doing what? What made them not good? Because again, it's the same movie with different perspectives.
They were governing themselves according to their own intentions.
Yes,
There's nothing wrong with that.
I agree, but what is the overall rules that we were establishing? What did the parents say? The child can still play in the street. They can do what they want, like they're an individual.
Yeah, but you're not my parent.
If you're not
Like
the
I
parent,
have another God. I have a whole other culture. You're foreign. Like you over there with the Israelites.
But you have a creator.
parent them.
But you have a creator.
I have a God. I have cultural mores. I have a whole.
I'm saying parent as in creator, like coming from your loins, like.
Oh yeah. But
like
I lead it forward into like religion and government and culture and all of these things.
But we all have.
I have sovereignty too.
Yeah, but we all have a creator, right? We all have. We all go back to the creator. I mean, whatever religious kind of spin you put on it, the creator is the one who is responsible for bringing life into being for every religious practice, right? So the creator has to be able to be the person who establishes the rules.
Do we extend grace to God when he makes mistakes? Do we forgive God?
What's the mistake? And is it only a mistake if it's outside of the parameters of your understanding or your...
No, not me. His own words. He repented that he created man and sent the flood.
Repented of himself, though.
Yeah. So he meaning he had regret. I don't understand how somebody who's perfect and absolute and flawless can experience regret.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so again, parent-child. You know what? I worked hard. You did a great job, son. I'm gonna buy you a car, right? I buy you the car. Next thing you know, you texting, boom, 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 and you slam the car into a wall. I can absolutely repent of the fact, man, I wish I never would have bought you that car.
Yeah. Because you're human. I'm talking about an absolute, maximally perfect being.
But the
who
repentance
don't have the
is,
same frailties that we have, allegedly.
The repentance is as a result of our actions. It's not really a result of what he did. It's a result of what we did. So again, omnipotence, right? Omniscience, and this is the thing that I believe is why we can expect for God to expect for us to have self-control, because he controls himself. He operates in a sphere of self-control because he could institute his dominance upon us at any time, but he restrains himself to our choice.
I don't think he does.
Of course he does.
Moses would disagree with you. Many times as he was contemplating to destroy the children of Israel, Moses had to negotiate, but like, hey man, you done took them out of here, and the nations would be like, you brought them out of Egypt because you couldn't bring them into the promised land, to destroy them in the wilderness. He was going to raise up a whole nation to Moses. Moses was like, yeah, don't do that. You got to honor your word. Well, God, if you're a God of self-control, why I got to coach you to honor your own word?
But he didn't destroy him though.
That's only because Moses told him not to do it.
But again, he acquiesced essentially. He allowed Moses to have Moses' way, right? And God was like, look, man, I'm sick of these nice people. I'm about to get rid of all of them, and I'll push the reset button. And here's the thing. We don't know if that was a mistake or not on Moses' end, because we know Moses didn't make it into the promised land because he was so focused on them as opposed to God. He's trying to protect God's reputation when God really doesn't need him to protect it. And so I think that we see a God who exists in a controlled state, that he doesn't violate our free will. He allows us to have choices. He doesn't have to, right? But he essentially allows us. There is a control there, which is why there's an expectation that we're supposed to operate in self-control, which is what you were saying, that if there is a prohibition, you need to control yourself. I'm not going to expect you to control yourself, and I have no self-control. I have control within myself.
Are you going to ask me for self-control without teaching me? Now I'm thinking of a guardian. Essentially, they were newborns and then given prohibitions. They're like, well, dang, what's this rule? I don't even know what it is. What does it relate to?
Don't do it.
How's it dangerous?
Don't do
Oh
it.
God, you never educated me.
Don't
I
do
deal
it.
with that with my son all the time. It's like he's very intelligent, inquisitive, and he's curious. And he's like, yeah, I mean, he told me not to do that, but what happens if I do? Then I gotta walk out for him. Okay, this is why you shouldn't do it. Here's how you're gonna be protected. If you step out of here, this is what's gonna occur to you.
Did he do it first? And then do you have a conversation? You said that he asked. So do you set a rule?
Yeah.
He comes back and communicates. We negotiate or
Yeah.
kind of reason together.
Yeah, of course. Come, let's reason together, right?
But does he do it first? And then, if that's the case, is that still your conversation? Like, how
Yeah,
does that
well,
work?
sometimes the rules are impromptu. Like I might see him do something. I'm like, oh yeah, yo, fam, don't do that. That's not a good idea. Here's why. And then I'll create a rule based on something that he initially
Correct.
explored. You know what
Right,
I'm saying?
right.
So it's happening in real time.
Right.
Yeah, but I think you have both. And again, we don't really know how Adam and Eve were. They may have been infants, but they would sound like they were grown people to me, adults.
No, I mean infants mentally.
Oh,
Because they just got here. Like,
Yeah, but
they know.
I don't know if that makes them infantile or not. I'm not sure. We don't know. We weren't there, right? But there's been times when I've left the house.
we're going on 2 hours.
Okay,
All right.
I'm done after this. I promise.
It's
I'm done after this. There's times I left the house and I said,
gonna be podcast conversation.
Okay.
No, just
and
say it.
I said to my kids, I'm about to leave. Lock the door behind me. If anybody comes to the door, don't answer the door. And I'm gone. Well, I don't have time to explain to you nothing. Just do it because I said so. And I'm going to sit here and listen for the door to be locked.
Right.
And if I don't hear it locked in the next 2 seconds, it's going to be a problem because you didn't do what I said.
Yeah.
And the reason why, because I need for you to get in the habit of when I say something, doing it. Because I don't have time to explain all the time.
We
You know
just
why?
don't-
Because
but people
if
don't
there's a
do
truck
that.
coming down the street, I've got
People
time to
gotta know
explain
why.
to you.
Yeah.
Please jump back. No, I need you to hear my voice and
Yeah.
do exactly what I'm saying.
Stick to it.
Stand still.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're used to doing what I say.
Right.
Period. That's a function of parenting. So I can expect for you to do it simply because I said it.
Right.
Because I'm training you for something greater than you even understand. If you can't get the first part right, you can't get the second part right.
Oh, I love it.
You're definitely both in.
This is a great conversation.
I'm sorry, we've been 2 hours. I'm
No,
done.
no. I want you to. I love it.
I'm done. I'm gonna let Rashiri and Mike talk.
No.
I'm sorry.
I think it's a great comment. You think it's a great?
I think so too.
I think
Because
it's perfect. I
you
love
make
it.
a great point where it's like when you're dealing with imminent danger,
Yeah.
that ain't the time to negotiate. Like, as a matter of fact, I might come yoke you up,
Right.
and then we'll talk about later why your arm hurts.
Right. Yeah. You gonna get this work first.
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
I see that.
You're
coming.
alive now.
Right.
Yeah, but
Only
you,
your arm hurts.
but you have to get used. You have to develop the muscle memory of doing it because he said it. For example, if we're going to go Abraham, right? The voice that Abraham hears that's guiding him all throughout through his life. Leave your daddy, right? You're gonna have a baby. We're entering the covenant. Kill your son. He's used to hearing that voice, right? I know you. I want to do this for you because I know you, right? But if he's not used to hearing that voice and responding to it, when God says, Abraham, Abraham, Isaac dead. If he's not understanding that when I hear that voice, I must respond right then in kind. Then he sees the ram. But if he is continuing to question, not getting it, and see, if you kind of deal with it, God walks him kind of through this. And you see this when God comes to him again, say, look, Abraham, you've been doing a good job, but it's time you be perfect. Be perfect. Get it right. 100% this time, because you're about to go through some stuff. If he doesn't pass the test, he can never elevate unto the other point. And so you have to get 101 down, which is when God says, I've given you the entire world. Don't eat of this little tree. You got to get that down. That has to be fundamental to your understanding of me and God communication. Because you can't pass 101, you can't get to 102.
And they didn't ask why. They just did it.
They just literally decided not to do the right thing.
Why are you gonna wire me with the capacity to
Why?
disobey you though?
So you won't be a robot. You have volition. The power to choose. That's your superpower. The greatest gift, I always say, given to you from the Creator is not Jesus. It's not Christ. It's the power to choose salvation, the power to do right, the power to will and give it and take it away, and your response, your control, your action, your choice.
Y'all don't see the political implications to just unquestioning obedience?
No, you still can question. We're not saying not questioning. What is that?
Just say,
What
I
is the
gotta have time to
absolution of
have
that?
a discussion with you.
I
Because
see it.
in the face of imminent danger, you just said it, if your child is running into the street and you are grabbing them up, you don't say why I grabbed them up. You don't even say, hey, stop, don't do that. You go into action and yoke them, boom, boom.
Yeah, but he just said you have to develop a process of muscle memory of being acclimated to listening to me.
That's the parenting moment.
In a moment.
That's the parent, and you still have volition.
I see the political,
You know what I mean?
political implications of it, but I'm really talking. I'm talking about having a foundation to where, and I'm really speaking more to parenting, that there are times when we are going to have reasonable conversations with our children, when they're able to reason with us. But there are also times when I said this, and you need to do that because I said so. And we're going to have to start there.
You don't see the government as a parental figure?
Control mind, govern, control. It meant mind. Control your mind. This particular one, in particular, here, where we live right now, yeah, not. I mean, we out now hanging out, but not a fan. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think our government tries to
We're not in the party.
usurp authority in that manner. Absolutely.
So yeah,
Should we obey?
and they abuse privilege. And
Is there any point where, as Christians,
We should
we
govern
can
ourselves.
disobey the government?
yes,
Absolutely.
I'm shocked.
why? The government right now saying that you can marry the same sex.
Well-
He can go to jail for saying that he don't agree.
Well, Paul said
But which one is?
God placed these people over us and has given them pretty much jurisdiction, and to disobey the people he placed is tantamount to disobey God.
God did not place everybody. He didn't. And the people that were placed are allowed in God for God's will to be done. They're allowed, whatever their portion of that is, but he didn't place them there. Nah. No, we ain't set up like that in this country.
You don't think God wanted Trump to be president or Joe Biden to be president?
Allowances. And we don't pick them, so a whole other group of people pick them.
Brother, I think that he absolutely wanted both of them. And I think that there are so many spiritual lessons that we need to be learning right now. And I'm telling you, this conversation, looking at the side of the pastors that I respect, the disappointment to me was the arguments that I was hearing to me were the exact same arguments for Trump, and that this is kind of a God thing. This is God's way of doing things. And my pushback is, I'm not going to disagree with you about this being the plan of God. What I am going to disagree with you is that once you get into the office, what are you supposed to do? And a lot of times, I think that God gives us over to what we want and allows us to have it our way. This is what happened with Saul. When Israel is like, we want a king, God is like, look, you don't really know what you're asking for. And then he says, all right, cool. This is what's going to happen when you get him. You're asking for this guy. You're asking for Trump because you hate Obama. And what happened when you asked for him? COVID.
So why is
That's what you get. This is what you get because you hate him that much. So we don't want Trump, right? And so now we got Biden. So what happened when you get Biden? Monkeypox, transgenderism. And the problem is all of y'all are on the same side. Y'all ain't none of y'all on my side. All of y'all are on the party side and expecting me to intervene. I'm not intervening in y'all foolishness. This is what y'all want. And that's what you got.
Who did not like to retain God in their knowledge. Worship the creature.
Well, why is God such a gentleman to these unruly rulers, but then wants to be, by the book when we're talking about abortion and?
But how is that a gentleman when he's saying, you know what?
Because he's allowing it.
I give you over to what that.
Why allow it?
To do your.
If that's the case,
he allows abortion too. He doesn't send people to hell or make their uteruses blow up if they have abortions. I mean, I think that we have to deal with, again, I think Jenkins is making a case that if you have an abortion, what you have to consider is you might be dealing with one of the sins that God hates. And if you're willing to take that chance, that's on you, right? But God he's not blowing up Planned Parenthood. You know what I'm saying? He's allowing it. He's not going to step in, you know what I'm saying, and make us make these decisions. But I think that he allows us to make decisions, and we have to live with the consequences of those decisions. I don't think that Donald Trump was a terrible president, but I don't think that he had to be. I think that he got elected by whistleblowing and could have, like almost every king in the Bible, could have had the reputation. He pleased God. Trump, if we hip hop fans, right? Trump was like, probably called him my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was always a fan of Trump as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Listen to these guys, right? Trump could have been the guy that ended racism, I think, in America. If he would have simply said, you know what happened to George Floyd was freaking terribly wrong. Police need to stop killing black people. Oh, what Colin Kaepernick is talking about? Absolutely. Let's do this. Like he could have become the greatest president in American history because he would have had all of them, and he would have gave us no choice but to say, you know what? We always thought he was a cool, wonderful person. You know what I'm saying? And he could have brought the country together. But instead, he did the thing Obama did to us. He allowed the church, the white part of the church, the wonderful part of the church to get him elected. And then he decided, I don't want to deal with none of you. And Obama did the same thing. He allowed the nice part of the church to get him elected. And then he decided, you know what? Nah.
The not so ones are nice.
And so I think that when we say, well, was he God's choice? Yeah, I think he was.
I'm always thinking about.
I said I was gonna stop.
I know we're gonna stop. But when you mentioned Trump, how is Trump? He could be out nigga in certain circles, your words, and it's like He only can do that because we value the system of capitalism.
Facts.
That
You know
part.
what I'm saying? But if we had a different value interest, we wouldn't have loved Trump like that because this guy Trump, he steps on people to get what he got.
Never.
His daddy steps on.
Yeah, he was
people to get
terrible.
what he
I
got.
mean, the ad and stuff. But
I didn't like Trump personally.
I didn't. But see, a lot of stuff I didn't know about. I just
Right.
remember like just the value of capitalism. Like, man, dude, I went to New York and I saw this guy's name on a bunch of buildings.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like you, like a person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So I mean, I'm a kid, and then I'm hearing Diddy and them guys. Like, again, it's the same thing. I mean, being
Yeah.
hip hop fan, I mean, capitalism is-
Acculturated and
Yeah, absolutely.
But his putting names on things that are not necessarily his is continuous with his group.
Facts.
It's like I'm planting a flag here. Oh, people live here.
Right.
Like, oh no, we claiming this.
Right.
Like, your fam.
Yeah.
Right. It's
I wish
already-
we weren't so accommodating.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
if you don't
yeah.
get the
Definitely
Right.
a flaw in my
Right.
kind of immature adolescent
Yeah.
idolizing hip hop and
right, sure.
thinking. But I'm saying though, even with that warped thinking I had, I think that he could have been a president for the ages if he would have decided to take a stand against certain things. But when those things were happening, and I think these things are things that God allows, I think that the choices that he made, if we were giving him a biblical record, we would have to say in the eyes of God, he's an evil king, right? And I think that he had the chance, like all these guys, you have the chance to, instead of towing the party line, which is why I'm so irritated with these guys, you have the chance to speak truth to power to take a stand and say, nah, we're gonna do the right thing, not the left thing, not the right wing thing, but we're gonna stand for truth and justice, righteousness.
Yeah, yeah.
And what happened with essentially, I think the last three in particular, when it came time for them to make hard line decisions about stances on what we would consider the middle of righteousness, they all went to the party. Above your understanding of God, your conscious relationship with God, that's disappointing to me. And I think that when we live in this country, I've heard, Pastor Jeremiah Wright say, God bless America, God damn America. The sad part is we live here. So if he's going to damn it, unless we're going to be Goshen, we got to figure out a way around it.
There go favor and fear again.
You know what I'm saying?
Goshen.
But I mean, if we were to experience what we see in Exodus, I wouldn't be mad.
If we were to take a stand, like Gideon or Joshua or in Exodus, just a stand. Bashir said something earlier. He said, wish that we could be, it was something to that same effect, like taking a stand, like what are we doing? We're out of pocket. We're not even standing up for what is rightfully, we're supposed to have the freedom and latitude to say, do, go, what we want. You don't have that.
Right.
We don't have that. Why? So those kind of things disgust me on the whole for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like we talking about parties. Like I said, we're not even invited to the thing, man.
It's not ours.
It's not even yours, right? And so if he created this and then gave us dominion over it, I want that part.
Yeah. Which
I want that part of dominion. I want him to have it for him and his family, you to have it for you and your family. And I want that part. And we got these other distractions that's in the way.
I don't want dominion.
Do it. You don't?
say what?
No, I want collaboration.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like
when I say
but it's
dominion,
collaborative
yeah,
dominion.
let me clarify.
Yeah.
When you said earlier about being sovereign, that's what I was speaking to about that. You have your portion, right? And you are sovereign in that dominion. You have
Understood.
dominion. You know what I'm saying?
Understood. Yeah,
And then your portion works with Joe's portion and my
right,
portion.
we can collaborate.
So right, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was meaning.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
that cultural thing for me is
Right.
just like when they talk about dominion, that gives them license to
Yeah. No,
Manifest destiny.
all
Yeah.
kinds of
I was talking about the home, your
ecological
space of that
yeah.
family. That's
Sure.
why I mentioned specifically families, and then the connectiveness of that
Yeah.
community.
Right.
We should
You
be
know?
able to have that.
Community, yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, you're talking about pluralism. And we say we're about that, but we're not really about that. We're more about uniformity and want to have a monolith. And everybody has to speak the same and say the same. And we think that's brotherhood. And that's not.
Yeah, I'm not
Stepford
that.
wives.
I'm not that, brother. I'm not.
And we're not. TNT is not.
TNT
Which is
is
why you are our very special guest.
We learning Arabic in this jank, saying prayers in Arabic.
And
We
yeah,
saying in other, you know what I'm saying?
No,
and I think that we have
You
have
said so.
pluralistic expressions, but I think that our goals are all the same in that, man, we need to have a safe space for our people to be able to serve a real God without fear, without judgment, to raise our children the right way, to police ourselves, to eat the food that we're supposed to eat without being bound by a lot of the things that have infiltrated our consciousness. And again, I don't know, I guess I have hope that what I see from the scriptures, this seems to be, what Jesus brings to us. And you can have it, like you said, we're in it, but we're not of it. And mentally, we're able to, free ourselves, but we still need, in my opinion, a place where, we can be ourselves. And, if it happens here, great. I don't know, but it's a
I
struggle.
mean, in America, it happens in America.
Mhm. They float the idea of trying to repair some things.
Yeah.
Talking about reparations.
Yeah, they float the idea. But what if reparations is we're gonna give y'all Georgia and Florida?
I'm more with this text that says the kingdom of God suffers violence and the violent take it by force. That's where I'm at. What do you say?
But who are the violent?
Do we raise our hand? Do we apply?
But see, there is one interpretation. We have to go.
Yeah,
There's
we
an
do.
interpretation
all night.
that says the kingdom of heaven have suffered violence, and violent people have taken the kingdom by force.
Yeah.
And
I want to take back everything the locust stole. I want to be that part. I know I'm supposed to.
So you don't want them to give us. You don't want them to give us Georgia and Florida. You want to take it.
Giving it. Remember what he said when I talked about Dominion 1. He made a great point.
Uh-huh.
That's that if they give it to us. And then when I said about self-control and submission, that establishes a different thing. Oh, you already didn't keep your promise. I know you're a liar.
These are facts.
Give me that what is due me, and you know what? Give me that too.
But okay, what do you mean? But if you're saying give it to
me, take.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I want to be.
What does that mean?
I want to be clear. That drink is Joe's. Y'all can see that in there,
right?
And he owes me.
Yeah.
Right.
Give me that.
Give me. I'm running your. I'm taking it because you owe me. You know you owe me.
You know you.
And guess what? What is in your pocket? Give me that.
Give me that too.
And don't talk a lot.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I think that's biblical.
I ain't mad.
That's what I'm saying.
When the ruler went away, he gave you certain talents, that he said, hey, yo, throw this man away and then take what he got and give it to the man that already got. Like, run in your pockets.
Running them pockets. They do it on your taxes every day.
Every day.
Run your pockets. Debo, they take your chain, everything. They be like, you know what I'm saying? Everything. I'm like, nah.
For all of
Nat Turner lives in me.
For all of the 22 and 32 minute TNTs we have done in times past. Tonight you got a triple.
Yeah, sure.
So we need triple likes, shares, and subscribes. And it's gonna be just as good next week.
It is. Listen, we had a little bit of technical difficulties at the beginning, but then we end it. So we appreciate those that have patience, extended grace to us, and stay with us. Also in the page, my sister went over there, yes, because we was cutting off here.
I'm sorry.
So we are appreciative of you guys. Thank you. We love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is the time. Look at that. We in it. And it don't seem like it.
Nah, it's like we had 10 minutes.
It don't seem like it.
We do apologize for not being able to show you all those links, but we will have the links for you to see on your own.
Yes.
We
I
try
can
to
put them in there
summarize-
even after today. I'll put them in the,
Right.
when you visit back, it'll be in the,
Yep. And you can check out some of these prominent pastors. And we posted to you guys. You probably need to see it to know specifically. We definitely want to hear what you have to say. This conversation is really going to feed us in to discussing some of the other hot button things that are going on in the world, mainly feminism and toxic masculinity, and some of these things. I had a fantastic conversation with our former teacher today. She showed me that you're still a young puppy. I'm a PhD.
She gonna do that.
Don't talk too much. Listen. And I had to do so, and I loved every second of it. And I'm really looking forward to getting into this this conversation that Bishop T.D. Jakes had. This was 2 weeks ago. We haven't talked about it yet. We're gonna talk about it because it's not going to die. But I love these brothers. Thank you, Bashiri, for surprising us tonight. It's a great, pleasant
I'll
surprise.
be right back, man.
Your contribution to the conversation is priceless.
Thanks.
I really do appreciate it because I was going to try to bring up the comments from last week and try to articulate some of the things that you were bringing up.
Right.
It's
It's
good
better
to have you here to be able to do it yourself.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And the chair is always open. The mic is always open. I think you know that at this point in time. We love y'all boomers.
Pastor Jenkins and William Murphy links are there.
Yep, links are there. You can check those out yourself.
In the chat.
And yep, and I forget the other pastor's name, but we'll get all that stuff to you. This has just been good for us.
It's really good. It is.
Yep.
And that 3 strong Black men can come together and reason together and talk good. Yeah, well done, gentlemen. Great conversation. That was Terrence. Anderson, yes.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
And thank you for that, brother.
Absolutely.
We apologize too for not being able to get all the comments. Y'all have no idea. It's a lot going on this side.
We got 2 platforms going on. We got to most of the Facebook ones.
Okay, good.
I didn't. It wasn't scrolling for some reason.
Yeah, so we missed a couple.
So I missed some, but we hit most of it. Thank y'all for just checking
Moby was in
in,
there.
watching.
Said, awesome. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
You can be here anytime. Moby, of course, another great mind.
Yeah, man.
That's
We got
my brother.
our regular guest contributors.
Yeah.
Austin Williams, Howard LaMille II,
Yeah.
Bashiri Jira,
Bashiri been in the house, brother.
Emil.
It's good to see you, man.
Salute.
For real,
Love to
brother.
be here.
Yeah,
For real.
This is therapy.
Yeah, right. We're figuring it out together.
Yeah,
Like
we
for
are,
real.
man.
Like for real. For real. For real.
Yeah.
We invite some wonderful people, but they didn't show up. But you know,
We want to get some fragrance presence, some female presence, because we got a lot of male perspective,
Need
particularly
y'all in this convo.
when we're talking about issues pertaining to feminism, which we plan on talking to, I think, next week, couple of weeks.
toxic femininity.
So any females,
Trying to get
any
cancer
female
before we
boomers,
even get on.
It's a such thing as, why is it a thing called toxic masculinity? What is it?
oh, I learned today that there is something, well, they don't call it toxic femininity. They call it radical femininity.
And
Right.
masculinity is toxic.
Right.
Man,
It's toxic.
listen, y'all stay tuned. We're gonna be talking
Stay
about that.
tuned.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my heart.
Masculinity is toxic, but that's radical for fem. Come on, man.
Words. have
All right.
power.
They do have power.
Have power.
Rape society, man.
Okay. Y'all remember what we talked about? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Seek shelter in God from Satan, the rejected one. Yes, you can say it as just an encouragement, affirmation daily. You seek shelter in that.
Amen.
Yes. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Yes, I love you. I hope everybody else loves everybody. Yeah, we talked about politics. I get quiet on the politics because I'm like, ugh, but I had some good conversation here. But
No,
yeah,
solid.
that's another thing. We need to have one on politics.
Yeah,
The
race.
politics, biblical politics, this cultural politics, all of that. Bashir, would you join us on that?
Love to. I'm obsessed with that stuff.
You know what I'm saying?
If I don't come in and talk about it, my wife's gonna make me go. You know, someone talks about
Yeah,
this.
yeah. You gotta tell her to come.
Yeah.
Everybody love everybody. Ricky Bobby. Bobby said
That's
that.
right. We love you to life.
Yes, we do. Tweet somebody, text somebody, tell everybody that you know that TNT is on and popping. It's booming. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. right here. Stay on your square or be square, right? We love you to life. Everybody, boom it in the comments, boom it out for us. Boom! Hey, man. Crazy.
Yes.
Crazy.